Hey, come on.
Yeah, it's going.
All right. Gentlemen, there is a Mr. Todd here to see you. Mr. Todd, please see yourself in.
All right, how are you guys doing this morning? How are you? Delbert Todd.
Jackson Nelson.
Delbert Todd.
Harrison.
John Finnegan.
Delbert Todd. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
How's the day outside? I know it's a little bit nippy. I'm from the south, so I'm not used to the weather. So
It's pretty cool.
Like
I'm not gonna lie,
You guys liking it? Well, my name's Delbert Todd. I'm from KTB Sales. We do a fuel fleet management company, and I spoke with you just to kind of give the background of our conversation. We actually met at my son's baseball game, and we kind of talked about some of his investment problems that were brought up on him. And could you elaborate a little bit more on that and how much you guys needed in that?
Yeah, so our goal is to cut down on $300 million in expenses.
All right, so $300 million, that's a quite significant number there. I can tell you guys what my company can do for you guys in that investment process and how we can cut down on operating costs and things like that for your company. So basically, I'm going to take you guys through a little portfolio here I have here with, what's your title again? Logistics and operations.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was kind of briefed a little bit before by my director. So this first page right here is the routes that we go through. We actually have the top 10 fueling stations within the 50 states in every single state. Also international through jet fuel, and we also have different places in the south like Quick Star, 7-Eleven, On Q, other things like that. Also, our company produces maintenance for UPS as well. So you guys will all have that through us, and we will produce that for you guys. So you guys pass that around there. With that, actually, Mr. Finnegan was able to give me a few financial statements beforehand. So it looks like you guys' operating costs are looking at about $3.5 billion a year. You guys are also have a grand revenue of about $66 billion. So net of about $12 billion there. So looks like 3.5 is actually a pretty big significant number right there, with $7 million being your total operating costs, 3.5 being fuel. So what my company can do for you guys is basically what we do is we contract different fueling stations in the United States and also international. So what we do is basically with those contracts we get a 25% discount for companies that we also independently contract to get you guys savings through fuel costing. But the kicker is with what the thing is that you guys would have to use each one of our contracted fueling stations within the 50 states. So that means that you actually can't go to, let's say, just a Conoco or anything like that because we're not contracted with them. So your company would have to go to our contracted places. But with that, you would have that 25% discount. So how we go about that is actually create a credit card specifically for KTB fueling. We're actually stationed within UPS, each one of your distribution plants. We're able to fill up each week, multiple times a week through our credit card systems. We'll give you about 25% off in an annual fee. How you guys feeling about that? You guys feeling good about that? Yes, let's keep it.
So good.
Well, let's keep it moving. Actually, next I have a breakdown for you guys. So this breakdown entails the different of your three major distribution plants. So first we have your vans, second we have your 18-wheeler trailers, and third we have your regular sedans and trucks, company vehicles, things like that. So when we go through this, your typical van runs about 150 miles per day, 30-gallon tanks. 30-gallon tanks with fill-ups about $200, $300. So with those fill-ups a week, you're looking at about, let's say, $15,600 for one van. So we take your 35,000 quantity due to Mr. Nelson here giving us the numbers. You're looking at about $546 million a year through there. So with our 25% savings, you actually make about $136,500,000 back just from your vans. Then we go to your 18-wheelers here. About 450 miles per day per what the average is for a regular truck driver in a day. Those 18-wheelers, big rigs, they carry about 350-gallon tanks. So that's about 2,000 miles, 2,000-mile range. So that's about $1,000 per week. So averaging that out by itself is about $1 billion in yearly fees. So that'll save you about $250 million there. And then lastly, on a smaller scale here, is you have your regular sedans and trucks, like things that I feel that you would drive with local vehicles. Those run about 50 miles per day with a 13-gallon tank running about 400 miles. So that's about $37 a week. Added that up through a yearly fee, it's about $39 million for the 20,000 different cars you guys have within your company. So subtotaling that all up, around that number that you said you need about $300 million to cut back on operating costs. So just from these 3 different outlets, not even talking about jet fuel or anything like that with the different aircraft things that you guys have in the area, we'll save you about $400 million just on these 3 aspects. And it's all guaranteed 25% because we are contracted with each one of those gas stations. Sound good? Everyone liking the deal?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So lastly here, what I have is that my actual legal team, we wrote out a contract for you guys for UPS. Basically, this entails here at the top, this entails our agreement. It's basically effective on the date of signature. What happens here is that you guys will be insured 25% off of your annual fees for fuel costing through our fuel fleet management company. It also entails that our production team, operations team, is able to station their business within the distribution plant just for cost and fueling updates and things like that. Also, we ask that we have quarterly production team meetings so we can go over fuel costing and different fluctuation prices within the fueling station. It also entails that within that 25%, that 5% of that comes back to KTB. Down here is the status of our independent contractors. So this basically entails that we have authorization through the distribution plant to fully take over the fuel and management fleet company. So this is also a 2-year contract. This 2-year contract insures 25% annually, so that's yearly. And if you don't get that back, we will fully reimburse the company of the money that it lost within the initial investment. So, with everything looking good, I think the meeting went well. If you guys are ready to get this started, we can sign it and get it done in 2 weeks.
You guys have any questions?
How you guys feeling about this?
Good deal.
I mean, it does cut back on our expenses.
It does. More than we hoped.
Yeah, more than 300 million, so.
Can we sign it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Go for it.
All right, great. Yeah.
All right. Nice doing business with you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Just keep signing. Thank you. Alrighty, so you guys are now official partners of the KTB Fueling Management Company. Thank you guys for your time, and one of my managers will be in contact with you tomorrow.
Great.
Sound good?
Yes, I'm
Alright, thank you. Nice to meet you, Mr. Todd.
Thank you.
Have a seat, everybody. Have a seat just right quick. We keep it going, so when we can hear the critiques, it'll get on there so they can hear those again if they want to. Thank you, though. Let's see. Let's go with Ms. Crawford. What did you think about his Delbert presentation?
I thought it was really good. There was a couple times where it got a little fast and I lost track, but I caught back up. I really liked how you had all of the paperwork ready. And then I liked the pen at the end. It like really brought him in.
That was a nice touch. I gotta admit.
The click, I learned it.
Yeah.
It's the click.
The click, it's a priming technique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Jenny from the Law Kerner, what'd you think?
I thought he did a good job, like explaining all of his information in an easy to understand way, so that the prospects didn't really have any confusion about what it was he was trying to get across to them.
Thank you, Jen. Mr. Welton, thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, he obviously came super prepared. I mean, knowing all this stuff. A lot of numbers were getting thrown out, so maybe that might confuse them, but it also shows how prepared you were, so it can be sort of like a double-edged sword. But, I mean, it's hard to say no when you say them 100 million over what they wanted, so I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Welton. And Mr. Sutton, thoughts?
I'm in the same boat. I like how you had the contract ready, everything ready. I think you said a lot. Personal.
I said what?
A lot.
I have a problem with that.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
I was afraid at first you were going to go with you guys a lot, but it turned into an thing after a while. But you know what? I think it was effective. If I have a critique myself, Delbert, it's that I fear, I agree with Ms. Crawford, that I fear that the other side of the table, they may have been, you may have been putting them in a position where they were like trying to get a sip of water from a fire hose. You were like hitting them with so much information so fast. They didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to respond. There was even one point in the presentation where you asked them, how are you feeling about things? But when you ask people how you feel about things, you're in this position where you're like leaned over pretty much the entire presentation. You were pretty aggressively with the back arched toward them. When you ask people how you feel, want to know a technique for that? Is how you feeling about things? You lean back, you open up your arms, right? And it just puts you in a position where, listen, I want to welcome you to say something right now. What you did was ask, how do you feel about things? All right, let's keep it moving, right? So it was pretty quick. They didn't have a chance to respond. With the way that you got that contract over to them with the click mechanism, this is the kind of presentation where, like 6 hours later after a presentation like this, these guys would be thinking about that. They'd be like, oh man, do we have buyer's remorse? This guy pretty much just hit us with all this information, and we didn't really have a chance to formulate any objections at all. We were just felt kind of put upon. You will see this when you're sitting over here. When you're you think, oh, I smashed it. But when you're sitting here, you're like, oh man, I feel like that was a little bit of a sales attack. But it's okay. That was a great first presentation. Really good job. I really like how prepared you were. Well done. Thank you. Now you hit the bad boy right there.